Who the Fuck is Kafka, Lizzie Doron. This book describes a friendship between you, Lizzie, and a Palestinian journalist. His name is Nadim. And you met each other some years ago on a conference in Rome. It was a conference on the Middle Eastern conflict. What's been for you so fascinating about Nadim and your relationship that you decided to write a book about it?
This conference was on the days of one of our Gaza wars. And I was very curious to listen to the Palestinian guy who came with a wish to have peace in the Middle East. And we were watching together TV. And we saw our army and what happened in Gaza. And I thought that probably we should talk about this, and it was an untalkable issue. We didn't talk about the war, but we start telling about our personal life, which was amazing because he lives in Jerusalem and he belonged to a very specific group of Palestinians who are in Jerusalem, so in a way they are Israeli. And I was not aware that there are a kind of semi-Israeli because he has no Israeli ID and he has no Israeli passport. And I was shocked. I thought to myself, wow, he's one who lives 50 minutes or an hour from my city and we know nothing about each other. So maybe the most attractive thing to write about him was that basically I felt that I know nothing about him.
So from there on, there starts a friendship full of obstacles. It has been a friendship where everybody tries more or less to understand each other. It works only sometimes. Finally, we are confronted with two very different realities, codes, lives. What do you think? How far have you both achieved to understand each other?
I found that the problematic issues were connected to cultural life, to relationship and understanding of women's rights. And I must give an example which was very striking and very difficult for me to deal with. And it was the situation that I think that for the last 5 years, I just tried to have 1 hour coffee with his wife, and I couldn't because his wife was out of our frame. She could serve us, she could cook for us, she could host me, but to sit just with her and to talk with her was for him an impossible request.
That brings me to the question, how much is fiction, how much is reality in the book?
The book, as I wished and I thought, had to be a diary. I wanted to be documentary. I think 6 months after we start our journey, I wrote, of course, the first draft in Hebrew. We spoke together in English, and he doesn't know to read Hebrew. So he just asked me to translate the book into Arabic because he wants to be sure that it's written in a way that he can be safe. And then I got back the first draft, and I think that he left just the propositions. He deleted almost everything. So on that point, I asked him, what should I do? And he said, I don't know. And I wish to continue this journey and this relationship. And I said, can I start something else? Can I just write a monologue and describe to my readers my feelings, the events, and to build up another concept? And he agreed.
To what extent would you say was your friendship accepted by your surroundings?
I can say that basically we had to fight, first of all, with our friends, our families, our even with my publisher in Israel. So I think that everybody wanted to ask a lot of questions about this story. And there were days that I was warned not to go to Jerusalem, not to visit him, not to continue our relation. I must say that I got a lot of support from my husband and my children, and this was a great help. And few of my leftist friends were really the second round of supporters. From his side, I think that again it was the story of his wife and children that support this project. But as I know, I couldn't meet his family, not his brothers, sisters, not even his father. And I never met any of his friends. So he felt that for him it's so dangerous that our story should be a secret and should be a hidden story.
So your former books dealt with the issue of being a descendant of a Shoah survivor, so-called second generation. It's been your personal story as a daughter of a survivor mother. So Who the Fuck is Kafka deals with another story, but you wrote it from your personal perspective and almost as a monologue, I would say, as a diary, as you said. And within this monologue, you deal also with the Shoah and its impact on Jewish Israeli society. So how important has been this aspect to you within the story?
I will go to the personal side of the motivation to write this story. And I must say that my mother, as an Holocaust survivor, she didn't talk, but she always used to say that I should give a helping hand to someone who needs. And just 4 years ago, I think that I got information that a Nazi doctor in the camp saved her life. And after the war, she came back to Poland to give a testimony asking to save his life. And always she told me that every survivor had someone who helped him to survive the war. And this was a kind of a message. I think that there was something else which I'll share with you, but it's a bit embarrassing, but still she told me that the high level of human being is being courageous. And when I met Nadim, I felt that I got a chance to do something to somebody that in a way is my enemy.
What have you learned from the friendship with Nadim, finally, would you say?
I think that one of the most hurting understanding for me was that he couldn't share our story even with his brother because he couldn't know if his brother is a collaborator with the Hamas or with other jihadistic group. So I learned about his life, which is not just the occupation and not just a specific status of not really having an Israeli passport and all those things that were happened to him because of the occupation, but also his personal life in his society, which I could first in my life experience. And I said to myself that it's for him. I don't know how he can overcome his life. It's impossible and it's so difficult.